Good morning. This morning we are going to be talking about fuel pumps and which fuel pump is likely to suit your bill. There isn't a one pump fits all situation. We're going to go through the different options. First, we have a gap. We're going to do some unboxing. Let's imagine it's Christmas and your DieselPumpUK box has arrived and you know there's a fuel pump inside. Let's have a look and see what you receive.
Zoom in. These are Luke's hands. Peel.
Right, go on then. Oh, another two staples. Another two staples. Where's my staple assistant? Where's my box assistant? Not a beer assistant, a box assistant. This is what you're going to be presented with 99% of the time. The occasional time, customs may have meddled with this, and if you open this box and there's a load of like thick bags of white powder in here, don't sell that. I'm told that you can eat these, so do eat those. Shall we open it? This is what Christmas is like in the DieselPumpUK household. I come downstairs, I know Santa's been, I'm in my pyjamas. You can imagine them, can't you? Kenworth or a Peterbilt on the front. There'll be some of you watching this that don't know what a Peterbilt is. If you don't, please Google it. Yes, it's exactly what I wanted. It is a DieselPumpUK fuel pump. Bubble wrap, and it's in a bag so that if any oil leaks or anything like that, it's contained. Our instruction sheet here, which is laminated, and on the back, instructional videos, and then on the front, explanation of what you need to do with the pump. Let's have a look what's inside. It's Christmas Day, remember? Oh, Santa's brought me a 7.7 millimeter. Do you know, like when a child opens a present and it's a book, and they kind of go, oh, it's a book. Yeah, well, that's how I feel if it doesn't have anti-jerk on there. Silly joking. Right, let's put it into the lineup with the other ones. This actually was boxed up, ready to go to a customer. So this is exactly how that customer would have received it. There's something missing. Should be a little kit bag. You've thrown the bubble wrap on the floor, haven't you? Yes. Now this is exactly what customers do. And look, this would have gone in the bin, right? Big trouble. We'll come back on the contents of this bag later. This video, we're mainly talking about pumps that we install onto the OM606. So originally the OM606 turbo version came with an EDC pump and it had 6mm elements in and it was quite good. But because we transplant them into all kinds of cool things, Land Rovers, old American pickups, whatever you want, we like to put mechanical pumps on them. And I'm saying we, it's kind of the royal we, is that really, because it's probably 99% of people out there that are using a 606 are doing it because they want mechanical and lots of power and stuff. Start with this, which is basically an old core. This core is RS181. So that's quite a late model core off a 603 engine, like a 1991 Mercedes W124 or a Mercedes W463 G-Wagon, like that one over there, would have had a pump like that fitted. They actually were generally fitted to G-Wagons. I'm not going to geek out because I could start saying, well, this angle and that. I'm not going to do that, but generally they were found on G-Wagons. If it has 6 cylinders and it has this large triangular face pattern, it's going to fit on a 606. That's really all you need to know. So the next thing you need to know, something that you probably wouldn't expect, and it's the first question that I'm going to ask customers when they want some advice with a pump. And it is, what transmission are you using? It's one of the most important questions that can be asked. Because if you tell me that you're building a W124 Mercedes and it's going to be manual and you're going to use it every day for work, that rules out a lot of pumps, and I mean a lot of pumps. It rules out 7mm pumps, 7.5mm pumps, 7.7mm pumps, 8mm pumps. It rules all them out. If it's a manual W124 and you're going to use it for work, no 7mm, no 7.5, no 7.7, no 8mm. Because all of those pumps, I can tell you now, are going to jerk their bollocks off. And I mean uncomfortable, not pleasant. The car is going to, basically I'm going to explain what happens. You'll gently press on the accelerator pedal at about 30 miles an hour while you're going through like a residential zone. Just gently accelerating, and the car starts to go, and it will not stop. It's like a perpetuating effect. The jerking effect, and it is a serious problem, and it is the reason why 8 years ago we designed the anti-jerk kit, because we were building lots and lots of W124 vehicles, and they were the manual transmission and they were jerking, and it was a very big issue. What causes this? The steep incline of the helix in the fuel pump elements, they basically give too much fuel at small rack movement positions. So when the rack, the fuel pump rack inside here, is quite far back in the lower CCs, it's actually very, very sensitive to any throttle input. And those particular elements, unfortunately, accentuate that issue to make it much worse. So we designed the anti-jerk kit, and you can look back at some of the old videos when we first tested that. The anti-jerk kit basically fills the whole rack cavity with oil, like a shock absorber. So instead of the rack being able to jump back and forward like a spring, it's in oil, engine oil. It's filled with engine oil, and it can't. It's like more sluggish, and it helps to stop. So it doesn't stop jerking, but it stops it perpetuating. It stops it getting worse and worse and worse and worse where it gets really bad. Now, out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers that we've done, that we've sold pumps to and we've anti-jerks with, I think there are 1 or 2 that it hasn't worked for. And trust me, those guys are vocal. I'm sure if you just type in, does the anti-jerk kit work, on your favourite forum, it'll pop straight up, and guarantee there'll probably be a few other 606 part sellers firmly wedged up their arse, backing them up. For the other hundreds and hundreds of customers, it's worked very, very well. However, getting back onto the point, what do you need if you have a manual transmission vehicle? Because the W124 that I just used as an example is the worst car that I come across that does this. But many other cars can do it, so Land Rovers can do it. Basically, anything that's got a manual transmission has the possibility to have this jerking effect, bonanza effect as the Germans call it. So what do? You've got 2 options. You're either going to have to go with a 6mm injector pump, which is up to 275 horsepower. And the benefits of the 6mm injector pump is it's going to be smoother, more quiet, it's going to be less prone to jerking, but you've got that limit of actually 300 horsepower is the limit of a 6mm, 300 horsepower. I call it a 275 because I always like to under-promise, over-deliver. If you're going to have a nice daily driver and you want it to be comfortable and smooth and soft, the 6mm. And it has a much quieter idle as well, because you've got to imagine the 6mm element is a smaller diameter. So to get the correct amount of fuel in at idle, it takes it longer, and a longer duration is quieter, hence the quietness at idle. The next option is a massive jump. You have to go straight from a 6 to an 8.5. If you want manual transmission, we're talking. So you can't go with 7.7 because, again, that is an older design and it promotes itself to the jerking. So you would go from a 6 straight to an 8.5. There is nothing in between. Now, unfortunately, again, as I mentioned before, other retailers and sellers out there, although I wish them no harm, will be crying in the tea right now because 8.5s are exclusive to DieselPumpUK. So you're thinking at home, well, he would say that then. He is going to say that the 8.5 is probably the best. But unfortunately, it is for a manual transmission vehicle that you want to get big horsepower. Well, it happens to just be the biggest horsepower out of one of these injector pumps. The 8.5 hits the bill. And again, it's because of the helix design. It's nothing like the 7.7, the 7.5, the 8s, and all the other stuff out there. It's nothing like them. It's completely different. It really behaves itself very well at low throttle input positions, which is extremely important. Even one of the 8.5s without anti-jerk, generally proves itself to be pretty much jerk-free on even the worse cars. So, can you stop jerking altogether? Probably not. If you want the very, 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 very best chance, you want a 6mm with anti-jerk on it, and that's going to give the absolute best chance. If you want lots of horsepower and you want a manual transmission but you don't want to encounter the jerking, 8.5 is the only choice. You can take your chance with the other options. There may be a very unusual account where you'd have a bigger one of these other pumps and it doesn't jerk, but it is unusual. You've got to remember that I've been building these vehicles for a very long time, and I would have used the options that were available on the market if they worked, and they didn't. So, 8.5. Now then, if you have anything else, as in if you have an automatic transmission, well, there is only that is the only other option. If you have an automatic transmission, then 7.7 is probably your go-to, because the 7.7 is a bit cheaper than the 8.5. It's a little bit quieter than the 8.5 at idle as well, and it's a really nice all-round pump. It seems to be a very saleable option, like people resale these very easily. They often sell the 7.7s that we sell for the same money that we sold them to them for. So that may be to do with the lifetime warranty though, because when these pumps sell to another new owner, if they have any issue, then they can send it back. It's free of charge, it's a lifetime warranty. We like to look after the guys that are funding all this stuff. So if you've got an automatic transmission, 7.7 is pretty good. Now let's go through the ratings of the pumps. Okay, so shall we start with this one, this dirty one? We don't sell this. These are our cores that we buy in to rebuild. This has got a 5.5mm element in it as standard, and it will get you about 65, 69 horsepower. We've proved this on the dyno. If you really tweak it up, you might get 80, but I doubt it. So don't fool yourself in thinking you're going to get big horsepower out of one of these. So then, next up, we've got the 6mm. So this is our basic 6mm without anti-jerk. So this is the standard stainless steel Alder. If you've got like a daily driver, kind of anything up to, as it's advertised, 275 horsepower. Smooth, quiet, comfortable, you can't go wrong with it. Next up, this is basically a 6mm, the same as this one, but it has the anti-jerk kit on. Now, this is for the guy that either wants just a more superior Alder that's much more stable, because I'll show you this. The cheaper Alder, like this one, has this inherent issue where it only has this single point to stop it moving around, basically. It's all supported by here. So let's say in customs or in the box or anything like that, it takes a knock, that bends, it adjusts the fueling on the Alder, which is bad. You could either end up with it potentially not starting or whatever. So we have to bubble wrap these very, very carefully. But this is a very old design. This we drastically improved. The fact that it's halfway down the pump makes it less vulnerable, and also it has 2 slide points, so this thing is a lot better supported. And also, the way that the Alder comes on and off boost, we can adjust by flipping that triangle over, so you can make it come on or off higher fueling, slower or faster by flipping that triangle, which is pretty cool. So those two are both the same, rated for 275 horsepower. Now this one is a 7.7. So this 7.7mm, like I said before, these are rated to up to 400 horsepower. Now, the average 7.7mm pump, like this one's 156cc, that one's going to make quite easily 500 horsepower on your 606. Again, we underrate the pumps, but 156cc is likely to make 500 horsepower. Best for an automatic transmission, or if you're just really on a budget and you're not wanting to spend the extra, take your chance with the manual, but my advice is don't. 7.5, 7.7, 8, don't use on a manual. 8.5, now this is a 5-cylinder look, so it's not just the 606, the 605 as well. This is a 5-cylinder 8.5, so we're getting into the big boy territory now. These two pumps are kind of like the premium of the cast-bodied mechanical injector pumps. The 8.5 is my favourite. These both have anti-jerk. You can get it without anti-jerk, but generally when somebody's going up to this level, they won't select to not have the anti-jerk system because it's a better Alder, it's a nicer looking system, and if you're spending that kind of money, people like to go all out, don't they? All of the anti-jerk versions come with the line, this anti-jerk line, and they all will come with the little bag kit that we said earlier for the fuel input. Now, moving across another one, something quite special. Now this is a completely bespoke made billet injector pump. This 8.5mm model has been built totally from scratch in this very workshop right here, and not just built, but calibrated and tested everything. And if you look over there, they're the CNC machines that actually made this. This is kind of like a stealth billet pump because it's in the grey. It sort of matches in with these, but we also do something a little bit more bling if that's what Sir desires. They have two different motifs. The one with the Messerschmitt on the side is the later generation, and this one here with the planets is the original, the earlier generation. Well, I say the original, it's not the actual original. We went through quite a few versions of this billet body before we got it right, but you can watch my billet fuel pump video to see that. Technically, you could have, if you want a billet pump built by DieselPumpUK, you can have any element size you want. They don't just have to be 8.5, but again, like I say, generally people are going to that level. Now, what have we got here? So this is something that we see quite regularly. This is a broken casting. So this is a very popular thing when you get you buy a core, or a customer sends in a core, we get a broken lug, or we purchase a pump and it comes with a broken lug. That's quite a common issue. So when we designed and built the billet pump, you can see, because the front end isn't on that billet pump, it actually is separate. So I had a brainwave, like I often do. What we did is, we set up the machine to machine off the front of the casing, which allowed us to be able to fit one of the billet sections from the front of a billet pump to this. Example A. Now these would have dowels, and that's all centric, and also the bearing centralizes it, so it's all very, very nice and aligned. And the nice thing about there's like two parts to this, which is a bit geeky but a bit exciting. All 603 pumps have a different offset, so this triangle here is actually at a slightly different angle to that of an EDC pump. When you install a 603 pump, mechanical, onto a 606 engine, you have to have the adjuster tilting the pump right out, so you've got lots of room for the throttle lever on the side. Otherwise it ends up getting caught on your glow plug. The very earliest 606s and the latest mechanical pumps, called the RS203s, don't know if any of these are RS203s, that's a 201, that's equivalent, so that's a 5-cylinder, but that's equivalent. Notice how that lug is actually sat higher than that one. If you look straight on, this angle is tilted, and the idea being it tilts the body over and gives you more clearance for the lever. So when it came to me doing this hybrid situation, I said I want that because that's beneficial for people. It means you don't have to bend your injector lines and tilt the pump over. So that's what we did. When we machined it and designed this, the hybrids end up with that slight bit more of a lean on them to make it easier for the throttle lever. It's the little things, isn't it, that excite me. This here, fuel input pressure gauge, a very, very, very important tool to setting up your pump and getting the performance that you need out of your pump. There's a video all about that online. And then as we keep going round, what we've got here is a 617 mechanical pump. So this is for the earlier engine, the single cam that you would find in the really old stuff like the W123s and all that kind of thing. And that's built on an M pump core. So you would remove your MW and fit this M pump in its place, and they're brilliant if you're wanting to get some more power and a turbo application. As it happens, 7.7 in these is the best all-rounder. So the 617 doesn't suffer from jerking, totally different engine, totally different design. 7.7 in the 617 is a really nice all-rounder, and it is actually the one that I advise to people generally as an upgrade. It's a nice all-round pump if you're wanting, let's say, 180, 220 horsepower out of your 617, NA or turbo version. Now this one here is a tricky little customer, 7.7 EDC. Now, all of our EDC pumps are 7.7, and it's taken quite a bit of time to perfect making the stock ECU and a W210 or EDC equipped car run as it should from the factory at idle and things with the 7.7. Because the problem is the injected quantity is not the only factor that you need to take into consideration when making a vehicle run, because with a larger or a smaller element, it changes the duration, and that also changes the quantity required. So you can't just go on quantity data and stuff. With custom pumps, it really is custom, and it really is about building one, testing it, adjusting it, testing it, adjusting it, and then just trying it on many, many different platforms, which obviously over the years of me doing this, I have. You can install this onto a standard 210 and it will just idle like factory. A little bit more noisy because obviously that's short injector duration, more harsh bang, but it's not loping and it's not doing strange things, which is quite exciting. Next point, injectors. They are indirect injection engines, so they have pin Torx style injectors, which have a single needle, and they can deal with mega fuel flow. But obviously it's very, very important that it not only deals with the fuel flow, but it's even. We set our injectors to 150 bar brake pressure. The standard is 130 on a 606 turbo engine. That seems to be a nice all-round, and you can use those on a 6mm pump, a 7.7 or an 8.5. Send in your injectors and we rebuild them. We have quite a lot of exchange sets, so that's not a problem. Moving on, what have we got here? So this fuel pump builder kit. There are a lot of people out there that have a limited budget and potentially might work in a pump shop or in a diesel shop, and they'd like to have a go at doing this. So what we did is did a set of 7.7mm elements with the genuine Bosch gaskets and Alder kit, our stainless steel Alder kit, and that allows people to have a go. You want to be setting them up somewhere in the region of 50cc off boost and 120cc on boost, and that's going to give you, up to about 400 horsepower. Just make sure your phasing's done correctly and all that kind of thing, so take your time with that. Right, just moving on from the 7.7mm fuel pump building kit, we often get asked, can we sell you an 8.5mm fuel pump building kit? The answer is no. I don't sell the 8.5s. We're the only people that use them. If you want them, you want us to build it realistically. There's no point guessing with that stuff. Also, you have to machine the rotating cups in the pump, so it's hard to even install the 8.5s. It's not like you need tools, you actually need machining equipment. So yeah, the 6mm we don't either. They're a genuine Bosch item. We don't sell those. So the only fuel pump building kit we do is the 7.7, and that's that. Next thing I'm going to mention is lift pumps. As a rule, 8.5mm pumps, these two, don't go out with mechanical lift pumps. If you would like a mechanical lift pump, you can always ask me and I can supply one. Or if you want to install your EDC mechanical lift pump, you can. That'll fit straight on the side. 7.7s always do come with mechanical lift pump, and the 6mm are as well. Now the reason behind this, I have done fuel pump, a fuel lift pump and fuel pressure explained video, but to very briefly explain, the more horsepower you make, the more fuel flow you need to have. We've discussed before the 8.5s are the best for making big power at low fuel input pressures. So they are the most likely to make the highest horsepower using a stock lift pump, which I've proved 508 horsepower I've managed to make at the wheels with a 8.5mm pump with one of these little lift pumps, which was quite some time ago. How long ago was that? Probably 9-10 years ago, something like that. The 7.7s can't do that. Neither can an 8 or a 7.5 or a 7. And obviously a 6 can't because it's physically not big enough. Let's have a look at the back of some of the injector pumps. This little guy here, this is to raise the idle speed of the pump. Now, some guys often hook this up and they'll actually raise their idle speed just for warming it up. I take them off, and the simple reason is these are actually set up when the pump is calibrated. If you ever take one of those out of a stock pump, you'll see the shims behind sometimes, and that's to prevent them pushing too hard and making too much fuel, because you don't want to go onto a high idle setting situation that basically makes your engine rev its nuts off. Now this one, notice how this pump here has another circle at the bottom. The anti-jerk naysayers out there, because they do exist, people that think that the anti-jerk is a gimmick. This is where the factory fitted anti-jerk was. So Mercedes had a defeat device. Basically this upper solenoid, if you push on it, gives the pump more fuel. Now this device, if you push on it, gives the pump less fuel. So the idea was, in a jerking situation, this thing would activate and it'd like pull the fuel back and it'd stop it from jerking. And it did work apparently. That was Mercedes' own invention to try and prevent this phenomenon that happens. And then these are kind of like the standard backs that you would see. This is what I would call a standard backed pump. So that is an ELR, that is a non-ELR, if you were wondering what that was all about. Would you like to see where they're made? Follow me. Someone's following us. Well, you can, but you can't come in the pump room, can you? Because doggies aren't allowed fuel injection pump building room. So you have to wait outside. Come on, in you come. No, not you. Not you. Coming in, coming in. So we've got two working test benches. Now these two bad boys, for all their faults, are Hartridge 1100 Mark IIs. Now these are old machines. This one I believe is 1977, March 1977. That's how you check. I know there's a guy that's kind of like, he's like a fake Luke Dale in America that's kind of recreating my life, and he's just bought one of these, and I know that he's going to rush straight. He'll see this video and he's going to run straight to that, and oh my God, 1975! I never even fucking knew that. Right, let's have a look. What year is this one? Ooh, 1975. It's British built, pretty good. We do have to put quite a lot of care and time into keeping these things alive and up to 2024 standards. And I'm talking like they have a lot of belts inside them. They have a lot of moving parts. They have a lot of pipe work. All the fuel that comes from the injector pump goes to the test injectors, and then it has to go through individual pipes to the metering bus. So you've got to keep that all in top condition. It's not as easy as made out. And you can see that both of them have had digital readouts put on. They originally had like a big sort of old analog, which was really cool, but not very accurate. If you're trying to set a pump up to like exactly 315 or something like that, then that's the way to do it. And they've also been modified so they'll read a little bit faster, which is nice because we need to do that on a regular. All of our components are plated and stuff, so they're not just like cleaned, and the pump room is immaculately clean. You can see these boxes, look, where they're all getting built. They come in and they get broken down, and then they get like put into their own little dedicated homes with like pump numbers on them, and then they go through the different stages where they get washed and then blasted and ultrasonic and then blah blah blah, all the different stages until they're built, and then they go on the benches, and that is just like a permanent ongoing thing. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, not always a lot going on behind the eyes though. Well, we have to edit the videos a lot because of your terrible cameraing skills.
Fire me. I've asked many times. You're not listening.
Good help is hard to find. Good help is hard to find. A hard man. There's a billet bad boy right behind me. Unfortunately, I filled it with supercharger and oil lines, but it's an example of another one of our pumps being used in the workshop, isn't it? So the next thing is you need to go out and buy one. Now you've got a bit of knowledge as to which direction you want to go in, so just be wary of that. Wary sounds a bit ominous. I mean, like I'm teaching grown men saying, be wary, buy whatever the hell you want, but it's an expensive part. You don't want to buy the wrong one, do you? Injectors, 150 bar brake pressure. Just make sure that they're all equal. I've heard some horror stories about customers that have bought injectors from online sellers and they've been all over the place. Buy some test equipment and test that yourself if you really wanted to. Be vigilant out there, guys. Vigilant. Be careful. Be vigilant. They're out to steal your money. They're trying to scam you. Don't buy their pumps. Did you know that once I read I got kicked off the G-Wagon forum when I started to establish a professional fan base. I got kicked off the G-Wagon Owners Association, one of them. In one of their claims, it said, Luke Dale has taken the G-Wagon community for €500,000. What?
What did you do with your €500,000?
Oh, I bought all these CNC machines and stuff. Yeah.
The mystery has been solved.
Yeah, but they don't know that. Oh, damn it. I'm never going to get allowed back on there. How come I'm not allowed on the Land Rover? What do they call it? The Merc Rovers. The fucking Merc Rovers. Why would you say Merc? It's like the most tacky thing. Mercedes.
See, you're not allowed on the group.
This
is why you're not on the group.
Because I'm not a pleb.
Because you're being mean to them.
Straighten yourself up. Mercedes, Benz, Merc. Oof, Jesus. The thing is, people probably go on these forums and then they go, oh, actually, I better speak to someone with some experience and then email me anyway. It's absolutely ridiculous. Somebody invited me to go on the page recently and I tried to join and it didn't allow. So how long is it going to take to get a pump built is probably one of the questions you're asking. Well, it depends. If you're sending in one of your cores and you've selected on my website using my core, well, we're going to wait until your core comes in. When the core comes in, we'll check it in. If there's nothing broken, we'll book it in. If the payment's been made for the pump to be built, it'll go into there and it'll generally take 2 weeks. When we're really, really, really super busy, it can be as much as 6 weeks, but generally 2 weeks is sensible. If you're a guy with an emergency, yes, we can usually fit you in. So yeah, that gives you an idea of timescale. Let's talk about pricing. So 6mm, 995 is the standard build cost for a pump. That's for a 6 or a 7.5. The 8.5 is it 200 more than that? Yeah, so 1,200 for the 8.5. These don't include cores, so if you need a core, you've got to add that on. Cores are getting expensive. 617s, they're the same, I think. They're 995. The cores for those are cheaper, though. I think cores for six cylinders at the minute are about £450. They're expensive. Cores for the 617s are cheaper, and the cores for the EDC are obviously cheaper still. And mentioning cores for EDCs, if you guys are buying a mechanical pump to go on your 606, remember that we do buy your EDC pump core back. When you've taken that EDC off, don't leave it sitting in the garage, sell it to us. We can help arrange shipping if you want, but what we do ask is that it's drained. And when I say drained, I actually mean the pump has to be stood up like this for overnight, realistically, because it will leak oil and customs will pull it and then it's all a waste of time. At the time of making this video, 100, is it 100 or 120? I think it's 120 for an EDC, but it's only 120 for the EDC if the plug has not been chopped off. If the plug's been chopped off, I'll still buy it, but it's cheaper because obviously I can't rebuild it or do anything with it. And customers that want an EDC pump will also see that cheap core price on our website. They're not expensive for those. Injector cores, to have your injectors rebuilt, $495. That's for the set of 6. To purchase a set of cores off us is the same, $495. I don't usually like to sell the cores. I prefer people to send them in. We may have that option out there. Fuel pump building kit, £210 of high value fuel pump fury. If you've got a local man with a pump test bench and it worked, maybe you could install that today for £210. That's a bargain. You could have 500 horsepower for 210 quid there. I mean, you're not going to have like utter beauty and refinement of a DieselPumpUK, but cheap power, isn't it? Go blow up your pre-chambers today with a completely uncalibrated pump. No, don't do that. Yes, that is also something worth mentioning. What is the potential danger of having a pump built by somebody that has absolutely no idea what they're doing? The worst is probably a runaway. So if they haven't taken particular consideration with the rack and made sure that that's moving freely and If they've installed elements with any kind of burrs, they can seize, and if an element seizes, it can hold the rack in a full load position. So obviously that's bad. Corrosion on camshafts and bearings and things like that, obviously that kind of stuff is serious, and that will fill your engine with metal. Dirt, contaminants, you know, if you're getting a pump, if you receive it and it's been rebuilt and it looks like that and it's covered in silicon, just send it straight to us to rebuild, because it's just going to be crap.
This is scaring people.
What? Oh, I'm supposed to be scaring people. They need to know. They're going to, because what's going to happen is people are going to be looking at my pumps, they're going to think, oh, they're a bit expensive. And then they're going to see another pump that's 100 quid cheaper and think, well, a pump's a pump, surely. But it's not, it's really not. Calibration is important. All of the elements need to be putting out the same amount of fuel. All of the elements need to be firing at the correct crank angle. Phasing is extremely important. Those cylinders need to be firing every 60 degrees. If you've got one with heavy retardation and one with hard advance, you're going to end up with absolutely destroyed pre-chambers. So all that stuff's important. I hope everybody is a little bit more informed as to what they need, because it's important that people get what they need. Drop me an email if you've got questions about your build. Watch the videos if you want to learn a little bit more. Let's see your build doing some burnouts on Facebook, whatever. Put some photos of your build. I want to see them. I'm into this. I'm obsessed with this. So let's see them. Cool. See you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.